Good evening. Welcome to Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert. Thank you for joining me this evening. We're going to take some time and we're going to be discussing some stories that have been in the news today. One thing I wanted to discuss, one of the first stories we're going to go over, is about the protesters in Baltimore. Recently, I think just a few days ago, some protesters in Baltimore toppled the statue of Christopher Columbus and threw it into Inner Harbor in Little Italy, in that area. Now, I'm hoping they capture those people because they need to be put into jail, and then we need to see what our president is going to do to make sure that they serve the sentence they serve for defacing government property. I came from Baltimore City. And frankly, I'm not real surprised in some ways that Miss Nancy Pelosi came from there as well.
I think with your desire to get rid of Confederate statues, but in Baltimore and Little Italy, the statue of Christopher Columbus was removed or taken down. And I wonder if you have anything to share about that.
Well, I'm not a big, I don't even have my grandmother's earrings. I'm not a big, let's see what we have in terms of monuments in this. I'm more interested in what people have accomplished. I think that it's up to the communities to decide what statues they want to see. But I think that it's very important that we take down any of the statues of people who committed treason against the United States of America, as those statues exist in the Congress of the halls of Congress, in the rotundas, not the rotunda, I don't think, but in the statuary hall and the rest, where some of them are. But I'm not one of those people who's wedded to, a statue to somebody someplace is an important thing. Again, if the community doesn't want the statue there, the statue shouldn't be there. That doesn't diminish my pride in my Italian-American heritage and the fact that it was a country discovered by an Italian, named for an Italian, Amerigo Vespucci. So I have that pride, but I don't care that much about statues.
Respectfully, shouldn't that be done by a commission or the city council, not a mob in the middle of the night throwing it into the harbor?
People will do what they do. I do think that from a safety standpoint, it would be a good idea to have it taken down if the community doesn't want it. I don't know that it has to be a commission, but it just could be a community view. And sometimes it's something that's been there, that view has been there for a while. But let's just say, I always say to young people children who come to the Capitol, when you look around, you see statues to people in Washington, monuments and the rest, who we respect, Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln, heroes. They would want us to be talking about the future, your future. So everything we do here is about you. It's not necessarily, they would want it to be about looking forward, not looking back. So let's just think about what are the values, the vision, the perspective that we enshrine, and how that benefits our children, rather than having a big fight about was somebody worth it. We know they're not worth it if they committed treason against the United States. Thank you.
Because of the area she came from. Now, there was a lot of things going on in that area. I mean, it's known for its discriminatory practices in some areas in Baltimore City, and that is one of the areas. But I just found it a surprise that she came from Little Italy. I'm not saying everybody there is that way, but there are quite a few. And I'm going to be sharing this with you. Pelosi on Christopher Columbus statue destruction. And her famous comment she makes on this is, people will do what they do. I'm going to be sharing most of this story here. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi Thursday declined to admonish protesters in her native city of Baltimore, Maryland, who pulled down a statue of Christopher Columbus and tossed it tossed the monument into the city's inner harbor. Beautiful place, the inner harbor. I don't think we need statues thrown into it, my friends in Baltimore. People will do what they do. This is what Pelosi, Democrat from California, said at a news conference Thursday at the Capitol. Pelosi says she also throws in a little thing, Supreme Court ruling on tax returns, not good news for Trump. Yeah, sure, it's not good news for Trump, but this here, to me, is no good news for you. But anyway, Baltimore Mayor Bernard C. Jack Young, however, had harsh words for the protesters who destroyed the statue near Little Italy over the 4th of July weekend, saying he wouldn't tolerate the destruction of property. Young said toppling was unacceptable and perpetrators, if identified, will be brought to justice. And this was in the Baltimore Sun. It was reported. This article came from Fox News. And also, Pelosi, an Italian-American, was born and raised in Baltimore. Her father, Thomas DeLeandro Jr., was mayor of Baltimore from 1947 to 1959. Now, I didn't even know that she was D'Alessandro's daughter from 1959 on to 1959. And her brother, Thomas D. Alessandro III, also led the city from 1967 to 1971. And I know this is news to my brothers and sisters in Baltimore, Maryland, those who know me. I never knew that Nancy Pelosi was his daughter. Pelosi said it's up to the communities to decide what statues they want to see, and taking down Columbus Monument doesn't diminish my pride and my Italian heritage. Give me a freaking break. But asked whether a commission should decide what statues go rather than mob protesters, Pelosi said people will do what they do. Boy, what a thing for my head lawmaker on Capitol Hill in Congress. He's supposed to be making laws, Miss Pelosi, not telling people to do whatever they want to do. And then she goes on to state, I don't think that from a safety standpoint, it would be a good idea to have it taken down if the committee doesn't want it, Pelosi said, of a more organized process to remove statue. I don't know that has to be a commission, but it could be a community view. Give me a break. That's lawlessness. Did they pay money to place the statue up there? No, they didn't pay any money to place it up there. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, a Republican from California, pounced on Pelosi's comments as another example of Democrats defending the radical left mob. And that's exactly what it is. And those people who stand up for Black Lives Matter, which, of course, we all know now that they're just a Democratic political machine set out there just to bring in votes and to destroy our country and its histories. Her job is, this is McCarthy saying, her job is to write laws. Instead, she encourages mobs to break them. She is complicit with criminal activity, plain and simple, McCarthy said. Pelosi has spearheaded an effort to remove Confederate statues from the Capitol, but has drawn a distinction between targeting those who committed treason against the United States and past presidents who owned enslaved people. Pelosi said Thursday she was most concerned about looking forward, and she's not wedded to physical monuments and tokens of the past. Now listen to this. This to me, and I wonder what her grandmother would have said to this statement. I don't even have my grandmother's earrings, Pelosi said. Now I'm assuming this must have supposed to have been a joke, but it's no joke. I'm sure that my family and their history should not be made fun of. I mean, if it's your history, it's your family, how do you think your relatives might feel about that? You don't have your grandmother's earrings. That's an affront to anybody of age and anybody who have been through the things that we have gone through in this country of America. And I'm really ashamed of you, Nancy Pelosi. I'm very ashamed of you. You came from our hometown. And to be somebody in their darn 80s and still can't gather yourself together to present things the way that it should be correctly presented, and to defend the laws which you supposedly uphold, To me, it's an embarrassment to have you descended from Thomas D'Alessandro. From what I gather, they weren't too bad people, even your brother. But I'm just saying, it's like, come on. You know, I mean, I think they probably were greater politicians than you were. They did things for our city, and some of the things I appreciated, some things maybe not. But the fact of the matter is that this is no way to think about anything. Yeah, it's like, what do the Democrats say? We're going to defecate on the history of America. We're going to tear down statues of our presidents, other statues that represent history. I'm sorry, Confederacy existed in this country. It's part of this country. Throwing it under the rug and covering dirt on it does not change anything. Even those people that are tearing it down doesn't change anything. If you're angry about the situation, do something. Get a job. Go into business. Do something to make things better for the African Americans in this country. Why are you destroying things? To me, you're part of the problem, not the solution. If you want to be part of the problem, those of you who are protesting through violence and through destruction, if you want to be part of the answer, don't be part of the problem. Because you are the problem. If you're destroying property in this country, is violence acceptable? No, not in your own communities. You have people, especially African American, black communities, we're killing ourselves. Nobody's coming in and killing us most of the time. Most of the time we're killing ourselves through gangs and drugs and other activities. So don't go and try to throw the whole thing on the white man, as a lot of you do. We need to take responsibility for our own actions in our own communities. Build up our communities. Some said that people are bringing in business from the outside. Well, do like they used to do in the old days. My grandmothers and grandfathers from the old neighborhoods that we grew up in started their own stores. They didn't have any outer stores coming in. They started their own stores. And there's no way you could tell me that that's still not possible in this day and time, especially with the new established opportunity zones. Get on that boat. Do something to resolve the issues instead of causing more problems. Black Lives Matter, and of course, really the Democratic Party. It's not really Black Lives Matter, and Black lives are not the only lives that matter. All lives matter. Okay, we're going to take a break for a moment, and we'll be right back at you in a moment. Welcome back to Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert. In news and further news today, the Supreme Court on Thursday rejected President Trump's bold claims of immunity from local law enforcement and congressional investigators delivering a nuisance and likely landmark lesson on the separation of powers and limits of presidential authority. Now, let me tell you something. I have seen, and some of y'all know this, we have diplomats in this country come in this country and commit crimes, and they can't be locked up or go to jail. They can kill people and get away with it. What kind of stuff is that? Unless their government say don't deport them here or whatever, you could try them there, we can't do anything because they have what they call diplomatic immunity. Now you're telling me our president, and not to say he committed any type of crime like that, but our president is not immune to some little statesman sitting down on a lower end in some area in New York or whatever, that's trying to create something for the Democratic Party with their injustices and their falsehoods that they have going. Yes, I would be insulted too. What do you need my personal tax information for? Are you going to pay my employees? I'm a billionaire. I have a lot of things to go through. You're going to pay my employees to go through research all this mess to bring some suit against my people. Of course it was bad. He employs people. He was mad because he employs people of all races. Tell me he doesn't. He does. And a lot of his employees love him because he treats his employees correctly. And he understands what his employees go through. He has done things where he's placed himself in the positions. If you go on YouTube, you can see it. He's actually done most of the jobs that he had in his hotels, just to see how things were done and how the people reacted in those situations. So don't tell me he doesn't care about the people, nor he's trying to escape something. What's going to happen with this whole thing, even on the lower court? They're going to investigate the thing, and guess what? They're not going to find anything. they're going to find that he does his taxes just like every other person, every other billionaire that's out there. And this whole thing is, he should not have to go to the court. And this is from Justice Thomas. He said he should not, why should he have to be sent out? He was one of the dissenting judges in this movement. Why should he have to go out and do this when he's supposed to be taking care of the things that are going on in this country? In one of those two lopsided 7-2 rulings, Justice Robert Jr. rejected Trump's argument that he did not have to comply with the subpoena from Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus Vance. We got to get rid of these little attitudes, Justice Roberts, because I know he doesn't like Trump. He said on that thing, he could have threw that darn false impeachment garbage out, but no, he didn't do anything. He said they let this fiasco go on. He doesn't like President Trump because Trump said something bad about him. So I'm not going to do this for him because he talked bad about me. So he comes out and he dissents against Trump. Trump should be immune from this type of prosecution or this type of investigation and sticking it. What did they do with Obama? They said, no, the Supreme Court did this. Tell me they didn't. When they said, no, we're not going to allow you to prosecute him or to bring him to trial or anything else until after he gets down from the presidency. If you want to question him or bring him up on any type of charges, investigations, whatever, in private sector, in his hometown or whatever, you must do it as they did with President Obama after he leaves office, not while he's a sitting president. This president has endured all kinds of garbage thrown at him. Just because he is a president who believes in the people, who is for the people, and he believes that he should be the one serving the people, and the people should be the one that are being served, not the government or not anybody else that is not the script. The Declaration of Independence says that we should be a government for the people, by the people. The government is about the people, not about any president or any other person sitting in office. And when you don't do what you were called or appointed to do, then you should be removed. We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back at you in a moment. Welcome back. You're watching The Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert. Now, the president's lawyers, Jay Sekulow and his team, countered with the Supreme Court, but we are pleased that in the decision to issue today, the Supreme Court has temporarily blocked both Congress and New York prosecutors from obtaining the president's tax records. We will now proceed to raise additional constitutional and legal issues in the lower courts. So they're going to continue on, and they're going to raise some other issues in the lower courts. And before I end, I just want to thank you for joining us here at the Black Conservative Voice here on the CTM News Network. Trump's lawyers had argued in lower court that the president was so immune to local law enforcement that it could not investigate the president were he to shoot someone in the street. Now, I wouldn't say that this is a nice way to put it, but and then it says here that the Supreme Court, Alito, dissented on that. Never before has a local prosecutor subpoenaed the records of a sitting president, he wrote. The court's decision threatens to impair the functioning of the presidency and provides no real protection against the use of subpoena power by the nation's 2,300 local prosecutors. Thomas also has said Justice Thomas would give the president more leniency to argue that the job deserves his whole time and subpoenas should not be enforced. You know, President Trump, he has done a lot of firsts since he's been in the office, a lot of firsts, and I commend him for that. He said that he would drain the swamp, but of course, I guess he probably didn't consider that there were swamp creatures floating all about. And as I said, you're watching The Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert. The majority devised a new four-part test for courts to analyze the validity of subpoenas aimed at the president. The court said Congress cannot seek the president's information as part of a case study for general legislation if other sources are available. Lawmakers also must narrow their requests and detail how the president's information will advance legislation. See, they're doing stuff for absolutely no reason at all. And to move on to a higher note, President Trump signed an executive order on Thursday that creates an advisory commission tasked to improving Hispanic Americans' access to economic and educational opportunities, a push that comes as the president's hope to win a bigger share of the Latino vote than he did 4 years ago. But he deserves what he gets. He deserves what he gets in regard to coming back into the White House once again. He won in 2016, and he has done a lot for the American people. He's done a lot for the African Americans, the Hispanic, and the Asian population. So I will say this, and then we'll go ahead and we're going to close out for this evening. The president deserves to be president once again because he has proven that he has done a great job with this country. And with all the things that are going on in our world, I thank him for being our president. So we're going to take a short break and we'll come back with closing remarks. This is Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert. Welcome back. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert. Once again, I want to thank you for joining me here tonight. I want to say we need to vote for President Trump in the November election. We have these reports coming out, and they're of course, they're saying it's a toss-up in electoral votes. They're saying that 109 votes in certain areas, some other areas, they're saying that they're leaning more toward Joe Biden, 249 electoral votes. Of course, they were saying the same foolishness back in 2016. We'll see what happens. They're saying here that Trump has 40.2% and leaning toward Joe Biden 56.4%. And that's supposedly down 2.6% according to the Gallup poll. Well, that's all the time I have for this evening. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a moment just to close. I thank you for this opportunity for you to come and join me here at the Black Conservative Voice. Please tune in again on Monday, and we will be going through some more stories of the day from the Black Conservative standpoint. And not really Black Conservative, it's only conservative. I am the Black Conservative Voice here on CTM News. Thank you for joining me. This is David Colbert. God bless you. God bless America, and God bless the world. Good night.